Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started now. Thank you everyone for joining us. This is the SmartBridge webinar on JD Edwards Tools 915. We're going to demo the tools today, show you some of the nice new features, and also we're going to go over the new financial reconciliation applications. My name is Victor Lang. I'm the Vice President of Enterprise Systems at SmartBridge, which also includes our JD Edwards practice and the surrounding applications related to JD Edwards. I'm also joined today by my colleague, Beth Altram. Beth, you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Sure. Thanks, Victor. This is Beth Altram. I'm a Senior Manager at SmartBridge. I've been consulting on JDE, both World and One World, for over 25 years.
Thank you, Beth. So to get started here, a little bit about SmartBridge. We're a full-service consulting company. We're partnered with various technologies. Obviously, we're an Oracle Platinum partner focused on JD Edwards. We also have skills and implementations with surrounding technologies such as mobile development with DSI, reporting with Insight software, security with All Out Security and Q software, archiving with ARC tools. We're also partnered with education providers such as iLearn ERP for on-demand video-based training. So we also include a lot of the ecosystem, not just JD Edwards, but a lot of the ancillary applications that you need as part of that system. So I'm going to just talk briefly about SmartBridge so you know who we are. Then I'm going to go straight into the demo, and then Beth will talk about the new financial reconciliation applications with 9.1. So we're a full-service technology consulting firm at SmartBridge. We focus on the JD Edwards implementations and technology, but we understand that it's not just technology that makes projects successful. We focus on the people and the process as well as the technology to enable successful business strategies. A little bit about our JD Edwards practice. We do implementations, upgrades, support. We do functional, technical, business analysis, integration, as well as managed services, UPK, mobile applications, and development. So we run basically the full gamut of services related to JD Edwards, both EnterpriseOne and World. In addition to our focus on JD Edwards, we have business intelligence and analytics, a practice around BI, mobile business intelligence applications, data warehousing, data integration, and our emerging technologies, which is focused on cloud services and enterprise mobility. So I'm going to go start the demo in just a bit. I wanted to recap quickly some of the recent features that have been released through the 9.1 tools iterations. There's been quite a few enhancements over the past couple of years since they've released 9.1 tools, and I want to talk about those briefly so that we have an understanding of all the new developments that have occurred. The E1 pages was a significant enhancement, the ability to actually visualize your process flows through the E1 pages. We had one-view reporting, which was user-based, self-service reporting, another nice enhancement. The watch list, so that you can be proactive about your querying and understanding what key items and metrics that are important to you, so you can see those watch lists on your screen. So there's been a huge focus on improving the user experience, improving the navigation, and improving productivity. So you look at the composite applications, the ability to include both other JD Edwards applications as well as third-party external web applications into your screen. So a huge focus on the glass, so really going paperless and doing most of your work on the screen. Just minor things with the grid freezing and the grid column hide and show really just improves your user experience and the ability for users to do their day-to-day work. So I just want to recap some of those things because we'll be talking about the differences. You know, if you're on an older tools release, I'll try to highlight some of those changes as I go through the 9.15 tools release. Based on the survey, I see that a lot of folks are already on a fairly recent 9.14 tools release, so I've tried not to go into too much of the history, but I just want to give a little bit of background on it. And actually that brings up my first poll question that I want to ask everyone on the webinar related to the tools release. So based on what you're seeing and what you've heard, how many of you are looking to upgrade to a new application or tools release? So I'm going to send out this poll so you guys can give me some input here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll right now. We've got over 80% of the people have responded, which is great. I love it when everyone participates. And I'm going to share the results. So hopefully you can see that over 40% are looking to either upgrade your app or tools release this year. So that's a great move. You're basically leveraging your investment in JD Edwards because you're taking advantage of the new features and capability that they're releasing. And as you get more and more code current, it's going to be easier and easier for you to continue to upgrade. So that's great to know. It looks like 29% of you already have an upgrade in progress. So basically, well over 50% of the population is either planning to upgrade or is in the middle of an upgrade. So great news for JD Edwards and JD Edwards customers that we're taking advantage of the new technology. So I'm going to launch straight into the demo, and just bear with me 1 second here while I switch to the screen. I'm going to start the Oracle JD Edwards demo of Tools 915 by first logging in through the sign-in page. You can see through the sign-in page that there's already some differences that you'll notice. The color and the fonts are already different from previous tools releases. And as you log in, you'll really notice the new user interface. The user interface has been completely updated. This is basically changes to the colors, the fonts, the icons, a lot of the graphics, and the way the menu bars look. And the purpose of this user interface update is that Oracle is adopting the Alta UI. So it's a more modern, visually pleasing user interface that basically follows the flat design concept. And the concept is keeping things simple, easy to view, easy to read, so you don't see a lot of embellishment with the fonts and graphics. It's also a consistent look and feel across all of the different systems, so you can see it via your desktop. You can see the same similar look and feel via your iPad. If you're using JD Edwards on the iPad, you can also see the same look and feel on mobile devices such as iPhone and Android. And that consistency also carries over to other Oracle applications that are also adopting the Alta UI. So I'm just going to show you some of the interface differences in terms of you still have your watch list here, but now you have different looking icons. You have your favorites. You have your job status. You have your any running applications would still show up here. Your menus are still here. You can get to those. You still have your home page. So the functionality in terms of a lot of the menus and the carousel that you're used to from previous tools releases is still here. It's just that the look and feel has been updated. So you can see that there's new icons here for your applications and new colors. But the carousel functionality itself still is the same. You have your open applications, your reports, your favorites. You can still collapse the carousel, and you can still do the same thing as far as moving it from different points in the screen, the top and the sides, as well as the bottom. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the new features, and I'm going to try to highlight some of the key UI differences, and so you'll be able to see what those are. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go to the Procure to Pay E1 page here, and I'm going to go to Receive Purchase Orders. So you'll notice E1 pages are still consistent, very much the same as they were before. I'll go ahead and show you some of the difference here in these icons. So you still have the same capabilities as far as one view reporting, your tools, form, row, close, and find, as well as your select. But you can notice that the icons have been updated. So again, the more modern look and less cluttered, simple look. So one of the main guiding principles around the user interface and the functionality with the new tools releases is they're trying to make things easy to use, easy to navigate, and give users options based on how they want to work. So let me just go to the search here, and I'm going to pull in some records, and you'll notice that I have the option, obviously, of selecting a row and using my row exit to go into the PO detail or the receipts or view the line attachments. I have the option of right-clicking and seeing the same row exit functionality. In addition to that, with the new tools release, I can go to my preferences here, select my preferences, and I can say enable simplified row and form exits. And that allows me to view it slightly differently. And when I save and close that, and I'm going to close this and come back into it now that I've made that change, you'll notice that I don't have my row and form exits here anymore. Now my row and form exits are here to the right, and I can expand that and see my row exits and also see my form exits. So that's just another way of simplifying the menus. If I don't need to have them up here, I'd rather have them here and off to the side. I have that option, and so that's another nice UI feature that is now enabled with the new tools release. The next thing that I want to show you is another productivity improvement or ease of use improvement, and that has to deal with media object attachments. So the new feature with the media object attachments, as you can see, there's paper clips here that indicate I have attachments to these various purchase orders. And if I wanted to add a new attachment, it's very simple. I just go ahead, click here, and it'll open the media object viewer for me. And typically what it will do is if I want to attach a file, I just go into File to select the attachment that I want to add. You'll notice there's a slight difference here. In that now I have the option of doing the drag and drop. So I can have the select from queue, I can pick a queue and select a file from the queue, and I can always select a local file and browse for that local file. But the other option that I have that's quite nice is now I have drag and drop. So if I have a folder, let's say I have a PO here, I just want to drag it, place it here, and it'll automatically just allow me to drag it and drop it into as an attachment. So that's a nice feature because you have now multiple ways of interacting, and some people like to just use their mouse versus having to select a file. So a nice little UI feature and productivity enhancement, and of course I'll have to save that to keep that attachment. And now you see that paper clip is there to show that that attachment has been added. So in addition to some of the simple navigation and drag and drop features, Oracle is also trying to give you more collaborative capabilities. So what I want to show you next here is the new features for collaboration. So one thing that you'll see for collaboration is now there is actually a menu under your tools for Collaborate. And before, you always had the ability to send shortcuts and get the parameterized URL for the application. But now you have two new options. One is to send an email and send an meeting invite. So if there's something that I wanted to email someone, I can just click on email and it'll automatically send a link to the application that I'm currently using, and it'll also give them the same search criteria so that they'll see exactly what I see, and I could send that email to someone and say, I want you to look at these purchase orders. And just select who I want to send it to and email it. So that's a nice convenient feature, and it integrates directly to your default email application. The other thing I can do with Collaborate is, let's say I want to do a meeting invite. So I need to discuss things, and so it creates a little meeting .ics file based on the current application I'm on. It opens it, and whatever application that you're using as your default calendar, it will create a meeting in there for you. So that's kind of nice as well. So there it created a meeting invite for me. I can send it out to whoever I want to include, and then basically say, I want to discuss these purchase orders, and send that meeting invite out. So that's another nice feature is the ability to collaborate using this Collaborate menu, and that's enabled pretty much in all the different applications. So the next feature that I want to show you is related to navigation. So there's lots of different ways that Oracle allows you to navigate across the different applications. So you have the option of using your EnterpriseOne menus and selecting an application. Let's say I want to go to accounts receivable and pull up a customer invoice entry application. So I'll just go in there and select one of those and launch that. So that's one way of going through it. The other way, obviously, is I have the fast path, so I can always click fast path to enter an application. So what Oracle has done is even provide more options. With the breadcrumbs here, you have the ability to select any of the levels of the menu through the breadcrumbs and go into the application. So that's a nice feature as well, and that was available in prior tools releases. So what Oracle has done is they've expanded upon that, and now with this arrow here, you can see your breadcrumb history. So if there's other applications that you may have wanted to access that are in your history, you can go into your breadcrumb history and say, okay, well, I wanted to go into address book as well. So in that, I've been there before. So I can click on that and then go into daily processing here and select address book revision. So it's another option for users to get to where they want to go. Reduces the number of clicks. They don't have to navigate entirely through the menu, and they have their history here. This history is stored from session to session. So every time I log in, I have my history. It keeps that history. That history does not get deleted. In order to delete that history, you'd have to go into your preferences here and select clear breadcrumb history. And when I clear that and then save and close that, then you'll notice that my breadcrumb history it's no longer there. So I don't have that ability anymore to access that history because it's been cleared. Okay, so that was just the initial demo that I wanted to show you. I'm going to recap real quick, and then I'm actually going to go into some more demo in just a second. I noticed a few of you have entered questions, and I've tried to respond to the questions as you're entering it. So please feel free to enter questions through the question menu. If we have time, I'm going to try to do a Q&A session at the end. You've asked some great questions, so please keep those coming. So one thing about the new tools release we just talked about, just to recap, was the Alta UI. So it's kind of a modern, more simplistic UI focused on the information. If you like this UI, if you really feel that you want to adopt it for other of your custom desktop applications or your mobile applications, I've included a link here. And this link is actually to Oracle's UI Alta Gallery. I'm going to show that to you just briefly. And this is the website, and you can see they provide all the UI patterns. You can get various portals, grid tables, and you can basically download all their UI elements that you'd like, even the mobile screens here. And you're free to use this material for the applications that you're developing. So it's a nice little offering by Oracle to share these Alta UI patterns with the customer base. So we talked about the drag and drop, nice little enhancement there, the modern icons. We talked about the email and calendar integration, so more collaboration. And this is enabled once you install the tools release. Everyone will have that option in their menu, and it will use their default email calendar application. Recent breadcrumbs and the ability to clear that breadcrumb history as well as utilize it. So nice enhancement there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the one view reporting. So I'm going to start that demo right now. What I'd like to do now is show you some of the 915 features related to one view reporting. So just switching gears here, going to go with work with addresses, and I'm going to create a really basic one view report here. Go ahead and just enter some search criteria. And as I create this one view report, I'm going to show you how these new features have been added within one view. So I'm going to create a new report. I'm going to set the record count to 100. Go ahead and add all the columns over. And now I'm going to use the drill back link composer. The drill back link composer is a tool, nice tool where I can basically allow me to drill back into an application from one view reporting, and it creates the application form, the version that I want to link back to. I'm going to add a new link and call it maybe link here. And it'll ask me for the application and the form and the version I want to use. Sometimes if you don't know what the application is that you're working with, it's very easy. You see Control-Shift-J, and that brings up the About menu. It gives you the name, the version, the form that you're working with, as well as some additional useful information. So here I'm working with P01012, ZJE0001. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that into my application. And then you need to have the name or the value that you want to use to link back. And in this case, since I'm working with address book, I want the address book number. And there it creates that URL link. And I'm going to need to select that and copy it because I'll need to use that later for my report. Let me go ahead and save my report definition here. And so if I just want to do a basic report, I'm just going to pick table, but obviously you have your choice of many different templates if you wanted to create nice dashboards or charts and tables together. In this case, I just want to show you some of the key features, so I'm sticking to just the main table here. So it's going to open my report editor or layout editor. So now that I'm in the editor, one of the things that I wanted to show you is that you now have the ability under your grid data sources here to add the report criteria. So that's a new feature. The report criteria or the report criteria with the table names. In this case, I'm going to include the table names. And what I'll do is when I run the report, it'll actually show me what the criteria I used to generate that report was. And now, the other feature that I'm going to show you is related with the drill back. So I'm going to create a table. I'm going to put the address, book number, the alpha name, the long address here. And then to enable the drill back, I need to select that address, book number field, go to the properties, and paste the URL that I used from my drill back link composer. So I'm going to put that there. And now I'm going to save it. Okay, so I'm done with that report. And what I'll do next is I'll run the report and show you those features. So I'm going to select search type V for vendors, and I'm going to run the report here, my demo report. So one thing that you'll notice, it's going to pull back the data set, and it's going to show me that my data set that I retrieved exceeded the maximum rows that I set as my limit of 100. So there's 122 records, but my limit is 100. So
Another nice new 915 feature here is that it has that warning to show you when your data set exceeds your row limits. And that's a system level setting that you can establish. And now, starting up the viewer, you can see here that it provided my search criteria. So another nice feature is, as we mentioned before, we added that report criteria object, and now it's showing that in the report so that you can see that I said search type equals to V. And then the third thing that we did is we did the drill back. And now you can see instead of an arrow on my cursor, under the address book I have a hand, and that shows me the URL that I'm allowed to drill into. So when I click on Supplies Galore here, it opens up a new window which is drilling into that application for Supplies Galore, and it allows me to start editing or viewing that detailed information around this particular supplier via the address book revision form. So that's a new feature of 915 where you can drill from the Find Browse directly into that detail application. So a couple of nice new 915 features that have been added to OneView.
And as you mentioned, the notification for additional records, the display of the selection criteria, and the auto-find option within the drill back composer. So just trying to make life a little bit easier for the users and give them a little bit more reporting capability. So, so what I'm going to do next is we're going to go into one more user interface change, and I'm going to demo to this right now.
The next feature I wanted to show related to Oracle JD Edwards 915 tools release is called Kiosk Mode. It's another change to the user interface. So I'm going to log in as a different user here. And the purpose of the Kiosk Mode user interface is that it's designed for the casual or the infrequent user. It's for it's a much more simplified user interface, kind of a console or basically kiosk. The idea is to have your access to your applications only through the E1 pages. You don't have your carousel, you don't have your navigation menu bar here or fast path. And the purpose of this is it relies purely on the E1 page applications, and removing the extra navigation. So it basically, again, simplification, uncluttering for those users that have just very specific tasks that they need to handle, and they just want access to those specific components that they're required to do their daily tasks. So this option can be enabled by user. So for users that require more menus or more navigation capabilities, you can have the normal user interface, and then for those users that have just need very simple basic capabilities, you can enable this version, this kiosk mode version for them. So you have the option of either setting it for the entire environment or just for certain users based on their role. So another nice feature related to Tools 915.
Okay, so that was Kiosk Mode. Nice feature if you want to use that simplified user interface for some of your users. And again, that can be enabled just by the user, so at the user role level, you can just say some of these users have this, or you can change that to be just an environment-wide setting. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the financial reconciliation applications, and I'm going to hand it over to Beth, my colleague here, and she's going to talk about those.
Thanks, Victor. So one of the nicest features that I have seen, in addition to the wonderful things that Victor has been showing you, is the financial reconciliation application. These are interactive integrity reports. Until now, to get your integrity reports, You submitted them to batch probably overnight because they took a long time to compile. You went out in the morning and you found your reports and you went back into the applications to try and reconcile those. I'm going to actually show you the first two on the list this morning, the transactions to batch header and the accounts to business unit. These are available at no additional cost to all customers who have E1 Financials. They run on all the platforms supported by E1, but you must have a minimum release of 9.1 and obviously the tools release 9.1 update 5. The embedded watch list notifications that Victor showed you do require a user license to the OneView Reporting Foundation. You can find out all about these in the document that's listed on your screen, document number 1952920.1. So let's go show you the menus and the differences between what you now see in G0922 and G09221. This is your normal menu, if you want to call it that. On your right-hand side, it's G0922, and it contains all of your financial integrity reports. The bottom option now, as you can see, there's a little bit different change of icon, is the link to the menu G09221, which contains the new 7 interactive integrity applications. So the first one we're going to talk about is the transactions to batch headers. And then we're going to go directly into the demonstration. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences between batch and interactive applications as far as integrities are concerned. Go ahead. Two interactive integrity applications that I'm going to show you this morning are the first two on the list: transactions to batch headers and the accounts without business units. So here is the transactions to batch headers. And you can see that where traditionally you would have had unposted batches, transactions to batch headers, batch to detail, you have all of these on the same screen. I have records that have a batch header with no detail. I have detail that has no batch header. And I have the inconsistencies of the batch header being posted or unposted and the detail being opposite of that. So let's take a look at a few of these. We're going to look first at this batch header record with no detail, 7799. We're going to select it. It takes us immediately to the general journal. So then we're going to click on the row, go to row, revise, and I'm going to delete the header. It'll ask me if I do want to delete it, and I will say yes. And if you look into your general journal now, that batch is not there. Here's one where we have the opposite problem. We have a batch, 2017, that doesn't have any batch header. So let's go ahead and resolve that problem. We're going to go in again to select it. And this time we're going to go immediately into the form and create the header. So the batch type was a G batch 2017. I'm going to leave my status blank so it will be pending when I come back into it so that I can see the detail before anything might be likely to post it. So let's go ahead and go into the batch and just check and see what we have there. It says we have document type FP. Let's go through the journal entries. Now you can see that one of my choices was to void this. So if I went in here and I saw that this was not something I wanted, or as in this case, I'm going to be out of balance, let's check that and see if this has said that it would be able to post out of balance. And it does not say that we can post out of balance. But we do see that we have a record here. But as you noticed, as I flew by it, there was also a choice for us to void the JE if indeed the batch should have been voided and the header disappeared. So that's two different ways that I can resolve this issue. I can either void the journal entry and then get rid of my batch, or I can go ahead, change it so that it will post out of balance if it's supposed to, and go ahead and post the batch after I've created the header. Without a header, I can't get into the batch to do anything with it. So those are some of the problems that show up here that you can resolve easily enough. Now, I also wanted to show you the difference between these processing options for transactions to batch headers and the processing options for the batch version, which is over here. Come on, Drew. So here, I've taken the, let's go ahead and make this larger so we can see what we're doing here. Here are the processing options for the interactive version, P00722131. As you can see, I can default into a particular batch type or numbers, range of dates, number of prior days, and I can also say whether or not I want to do just the GL or AT and AR, etc. And of course, do I want it to observe the manage and approval flags that I have set up? This allows you to set up different versions and put them on the menus for specific departments that should be resolving these issues. Now in the batch version, R007021, I have all of the same ability. I can do a range of days, different batch types, batch numbers, GLAR, AP, and I also have this option here which allows the system to set up the batch headers for the missing batch headers. This is a very handy thing to do. It will also observe the manager's approval flag, just like the interactive version would. But I could, for example, run this in batch, say yes to all of the batches, GL, AP, AR, and create my headers for my batches so that when I got here to resolve issues, these types of issues would not be appearing on the screen. These would already have been resolved by the system. The downside of that, of course, is you don't know what condition the batches were in when you create the headers. So it's kind of nice to be able to go in here and see what's going on. Now, the other integrity application that I'm going to show you today is the accounts to business units. Here are our problem children. Here is the company mismatch between business unit 61300, which in your chart of accounts or your account master says it belongs to company 1, but in the business unit master, it says it belongs to company 61000. So let's check that out. If I go look at the business units, sure enough, here it is, 61300 says it belongs to company 61000. And I did not bring up my accounts. So let's look at our chart of accounts and see what that has to say. Yes, and it says it all belongs to company 1. So, if I'm the finance manager, I know whether or not this belongs to company 1, or should belong to company 1, or should belong to company 61000. So, I think, oh yes, that really should belong to company 1. I don't know if we changed it, but it's definitely wrong. I'm going to go in here to my work with business units, and I'm going to change it to company 1. Save it. It's going to give me a warning. This is not something that should be done without knowledge of what is actually correct for this business unit. But I know it should be company 1, so I'm going to save it, and sure enough, there it is. Now if I go back into my applications, accounts with business units, it should be gone, and it is. So those are a couple of interactive integrity reports that you can use, and these augment your current batch versions, because as you can see, from the processing options, it is possible for me to have different abilities with my interactive versions as opposed to my batch version. So I hope you'll give these interactive these interactive integrities a try. I think they're going to be really useful. They are the first big change in the integrity reports that have been available. Of course, these integrity reports have been available for quite some time in the batch format. And I am thinking that since we have 7 new ones, that quite possibly there's more on the horizon from Oracle. I certainly hope so. They certainly make the resolution of these quite easy. So that's some of the highlights of Tools 9.1.5 from the functional perspective. And as Victor showed you, some of the really nice interface features that are in this new Tools release. Victor?
Thanks, Beth. So I'm going to actually send out one last poll now that you've seen the new user interface features, the navigation enhancements with 9.1.5, and Beth has talked about the interactive financial reconciliation applications. I'm curious, how many of you now plan to look at 9.1.5 and upgrade? So I'm going to send that poll out. Now, I'm getting some good questions here. Now, do you need to be on Tools Release 9.1.5 to use the interactive reconciliation applications that Beth just demoed? Yes, you have to be on Tools Release 9.1.5, and you need to be on Apps 9.1. So you need to be both on the new apps and the new Tools Release to use those financial reconciliation applications. To get to now, one thing to be more specific is if you just want to use Tools 9.1.5, you want to use the new, you want to have the new user interface and the new navigation with the breadcrumb history, you don't need to upgrade from 9.0 to 9.1 apps. You can just go to 9.1.5 Tools Release. But the applications that Beth just showed, you do need to be on 9.1. So I'm going to close the poll real quick. I've got a good number of people that responded. And looking at the results, it's pretty clear. 87% are interested in 9.1.5. So that's great news. like I said before, you're really going to leverage your investment that you've already made in JD Edwards and take advantage of these nice new features. Couple of things that I want to mention is that SmartBridge will be at Collaborate. If you want to visit us at our booth at Collaborate, which is coming later this April, we're booth 319, and if you mention you attended this webinar, we'll give you a free gift. So please come and visit us. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we are going to release a JD Edwards Upgrade Success Kit, and this kit gives tons of great information, best practices, key challenges, how to build your business case. We give you document templates, so actually real deliverables that you can use during your upgrade. So come visit us, sign up for the Success Kit. We'll send that to you via email so you have an electronic copy of that. It's a really handy tool if you're looking to do an upgrade. So at this point in time, we've got a little bit of extra time left, so I want to go ahead and try and field some questions. I had a lot of questions related to browsers. So I want to show you a couple of things about browsers. And there's two documents that I wanted to share. One is here. It's document 1487909.1 under Oracle support, and it talks about the web clients that are supported by the 9.1 tools releases. And it specifically addresses some things with Chrome, Firefox, and Internet Explorer. A lot of people, they have a browser they prefer, and some seem to work faster, some seem to work slower. And I would agree with most of the folks out there that there are differences depending on what browser and what browser version you use. What I've experienced with the 9.1.5 tools release is some of the functionality works better in Internet Explorer, but I've also found that Internet Explorer tends to run a little bit slower, and that's with the latest version of Internet Explorer 11. If you're on an older version of an Explorer, you might have a completely different experience. I've also found that Google Chrome runs faster. So if you're experiencing some slowdown, whether it takes you a long time to log in or a long time to see new screens rendering, you might try a different browser and see if that helps. Try running it with Chrome versus Internet Explorer or vice versa. See if that gives you a different experience. The other document that I wanted to share with you is also related to the tools release. It's document 195.224.2.1, and this talks about the new release in detail. It gives you links, the new features. Also talks about the compatibilities and the product certifications for the new release, and talks about the applications that Beth just went through, the financial reconciliation applications. And also it talks a little bit about some of the in-memory updates. Lots of great things that Oracle is doing with Oracle 12c database in-memory and the in-memory capability of really improving performance and the speed of the processing, doing everything in memory. Okay, so that covers quite a few of the questions that I wanted to cover. We are running a little bit low on time. The last thing I wanted to talk about is if you want a copy of this presentation, please send me an email. I will send you a copy of the PowerPoint so that you can use it. So again, thank you very much for joining us. If I did not get to your question and you sent one, I'm going to try and follow up with you and answer your question via email offline. Thank you very much for joining us today, and look forward to you joining us for our next webinar.
Thanks, everyone.